Imagine having to take someone who is going to receive organs from somebody else. You have to make sure that that set of organs that they are receiving is as best a match possible, and then you have to make sure you monitor that patient thereafter to make sure their system is tolerant to that new organ. It's a very difficult thing to do, and that's why when I treat those patients, I take it, I think, with the utmost level of seriousness that's possible. I took that same approach and applied it to food. I said, if I have a child here who cannot eat peanuts, cashews, and pistachios, and we have documentation of these severe reactions, which many of our patients certainly have. I said, this patient is in many ways no different than a patient who's receiving a transplant, but in this case, the transplant is that of a food. So I was very much bothered that if others were attempting to do this, they were simply trying to approach it with a one-size-fits-all approach. Every patient with peanut allergy is the same patient. You simply just give them the same amount of foods and you see what happens. I knew a long time ago that that would not work, mainly based on my transplantation experience. And so as I started to move forward with this process, my first and foremost question was, how do we match these patients properly? How do we match a patient to this set of foods? Which meant that I had to spend the last 10 plus years studying food and food chemistry to levels that are incredibly difficult. And then we had to create testing methodologies that would allow us to match these patients to these foods. And then the next step that took place after that was taking all this data that came forward and applying that in an actual process for these patients to accept this food, and then to create dosing mechanics behind it to actually be able to predict what their system will tolerate. So yeah, it's complicated, but it had to start with that basic premise that if we're going to try and give these patients these foods and do it safely, we have to know everything possible about these foods and not just assume it's a food, give it to the child and let's see what happens.